This is day 6 of sharing CPS Fails stories until something changes. Today's story actually is really hard not to get emotional during, so please bear with me as I read it. It says, my mother lost multiple children to both US CPS and German CPS. All 4 were taken out of her case as infants. She went on to have 4 more living children. CPS actually left my older sister, Carol, the name has been changed, in my mother's case. This is important to the story. She was in between the 2 that had been taken by the German government and the 2 that were taken into custody and adopted to different families. Afterwards, she moved to another state and started over. She had my older sister Tammy, myself, and my 2 brothers. CPS was called to our home more times than I can count, but never removed us. When our older sister Carol turned 16, she, the mom, was basically tired of handling her, so she married her off to a 26-year-old man. Carol had 4 children from this marriage. The abuse was so bad that nearly every month CPS was either at our mom's or at the school. My mom essentially trafficked us to her husband's family to be groomed and molested for her own benefit. Irregardless of the outcries, my mother's alcohol addiction, the severe abuse, the neglect of basic needs, CPS never removed us. In fact, when Carol divorced her husband, she became a drug addict and repeated the same cycle of abuse with her children. They were taken and placed in foster care until CPS allowed my mother to take them into her custody permanently. I became a child caregiver full-time from that point forward. I woke up at 4 a.m. and went to bed at 1 a.m., oftentimes caring for the 4 children, my brothers, and my other niece, whose mom was also an addict. The school knew, CPS was also called then, and still nothing was done. We didn't have enough food in the house, so I dropped to 113 pounds to ration it. I worked every single day to pay for what I could for the kids' needs. Every single day while in high school full-time doing college classes. I moved out at 16. The abuse mentally and physically, I just couldn't handle it anymore. And still cared for them every day. I called CPS 5 times at least during this time. Told the school, told my doctors, told the teachers. But when the pandemic hit, I had no choice but to take a step back because my daughter was born super early and I had to move 2 hours away for her to survive. At that time, my mother moved in a child molester to a rent house next door, my stepdad's brother, who she essentially sold us to. I called CPS again. So did several other people. They knew the allegations and never did anything. At this time, there were 4 kids in the home. My sister Tammy's oldest child, my 2 nieces, and a nephew. They outcried to me that the cycle of grooming had been repeated and that my mother would send them to the next door often. If she was mad, she wanted something, if she just didn't want to look at him. And remember, next door was the child predator. I took in 2 of these kids, biologically my sister Carol's 2 remaining girls, and 22 with a medically complex kid, because these kids are basically mine since I had been caring for them since I was 12. I wanted to protect them. I had to fight so hard to get my mother to sign them over. All the while, one of them made an outcry to the school and CPS was called. I told them everything. My kids did. Everyone I know did. The man still lives next door to them in their rent house. Despite a police report, CPS being called, nothing was ever done. So this story is really, really depressing. The fact that the mom used the child predator next door for her to manipulate and to control her children and to get things that she wanted. The fact that there was not food in the house. The fact that this 12-year-old girl was taking care of the kids for her mom. The fact that CPS was called several times and they were well aware of the issues going on here and didn't do anything. The fact that there was multiple cycles of abuse being repeated throughout this family in many different family circles. It is all around just a very depressing and sad situation that really should have gotten a lot more attention and a lot more response from the CPS. To be completely honest, this should have gotten a lot more response.